Welcome back to Imperium Galactica. The Empire continues to expand here on Admiral rank, and we're pushing up into this area a little bit more. We're at November 19th, and I want to take a look at the overview picture here. If we look at our planets, we presently have 23. And the reason that matters is 24 is the amount we need to research everything at Admiral rank. To research everything that'll be available in the game that we're going to want, at least, we need to get to 28 planets. So we're getting quite close to that. Now what we're doing in terms of our strategy at this point is I'm going with 3 Hubble. So we can see, like, we've got one at Center 15, and we've put one up here on Persol 3, down here in Naxos and Stenstone, of course, already had them. Got more over here on Garthog too. But 3 of those at a time, and then we're switching to the colonization ship, alternating in that fashion. So we just put up a few of them, and now we're going to get another ship out, and just gradually working it around in that manner. Now, on the research front, we have gotten a few things done because with the extra development centers that we had, we were able to finish up some projects. We now have the 2.0 bomb, we've got the 2.0 missile, working on the multi-headed missile, the last missile that we're going to want to acquire. And we've got the ultraviolet laser, but there are some other items that we still can't finish until we build more development centers later on. Heavy cargo pod being one, the heavy tank, things of that nature. So, again, finished up some projects, but many others remaining to be completed here. November 21st, a couple days later, we're still doing pretty well up here, continuing to expand our coverage. We've now grabbed Exterior 17, and this is a really nice place where, with the expanded Hubble network coverage, you can actually have this Tiger cruiser that can cover all 3 of these planets by itself with just one ship, no military spaceport. So, anytime we have the ability to do something like that, we are doing it. I'm also occasionally putting up military spaceports along the border, because the border areas are not going to benefit as much from the Hubble. We're going to potentially get quick attacks. Like, imagine if they took off from Center 14 to go to Center 12, we would need to be able to react to that very quickly. And there's a lot of areas like that along here. But the Hubble, I'm devoting more to these open areas, sort of the frontier, where anywhere they approach, they would have to approach from the full extent of the coverage. Now, the FNS, Free Nations Society, have decided to make their presence felt, so we've got to fight them off. And notice that they look the same as us. This is the faction, it said they broke off from the Empire some while ago and are arrogant and have contempt for the Empire. We learned about that very early in the game. And I like the fact that they have the same design as the Empire does. I think it's just sort of a nice little bit of consistency. And cool little touch by the game. Now we're just going to run away and look closely at how they shoot us. You see that destroyer there is shooting some green thing at us. So apparently their weapons are advancing beyond mere lasers. That's something we'll need to be concerned about in the future. Research, of course, continues. We have not run into any particularly big problems. Of course, we're just going to hang around here with this Berserker. November 24th, it's an important day for the Human Empire for a couple reasons. I mean, our expansion continues. Our financial information, we are up over 200,000 daily income for the first time, so that's nice, but not really a huge thing. Our expansion has been slowed down some by the fact that we're developing now a little bit more, needing more expense on some of the planets we've colonized that are now starting to get up some critical mass, like Center 12, up over 5,000. So we've been putting bars, rec centers, the first police station up on those, and that's sucked a little bit more of our cash, along with the other usual developments that have been happening. And our scouting over here. We are almost done. We've actually found this is an empty Earth-type planet, but the Hunter is almost finished with its final run, and the Terminator not too far away. A couple days, we'll probably have all of this finished. So that's nice as well. But most importantly is this right here. And we can now name our endgame enemy. The big bad is the Dargslin. And even if you didn't know that that was the endgame enemy, like you've never seen these before, there still are a couple clues. One is that, look at the speed of 35. Well, we've seen the Free Nation Society fleet and that they're already developing better technology. Even at that, their speed is only 28. Like, the Ecoleps down here, 32. And we haven't seen anybody else faster than 32. So if you're paying attention to that, you might notice a speed of 35. That looks pretty impressive. They may be pretty highly advanced. Then, if you take a look at, you know, our alien list that we were given, notice everybody else we've run into is on this. But the Dargslin are not. So we've been given no information directly about them. And of course, they're very identifiable with the green. Now, they are expanding, I think, up towards this way, or at least that's where some of their territory is. And I think I could have delayed them being triggered by perhaps, you know, pushing into a few other areas, maybe down, you know, along this way. You know, there's at least 1 or 2 planets over here that I could have gotten, you know, instead of going up this way. But ultimately, you've got to deal with them anyway. You want to get all the planets that you can, so, you know, you can make an argument that I should be trying to hem them in so they can expand more. But regardless of any of that, they are upset with us, and they are heading towards Garthog 1. So we need to stop them, and stopping them will trigger the end of Admiral rank. So sooner than I wanted, we're about to be done here. And interestingly enough, the Acombs decided to join in the fun because they're also heading for Garthog 1. So I had to bring in another ship here. But one of the nice things about where we are at, if I zoom out just a bit, is that we have now extended enough with our gradual increase of the Hubble that many of these areas, like, there's no way to attack it that you don't get a lot of warning. And so, you know, like, we knew about the Dargslin way over here that they were coming, and the Acombs I knew about, they were coming way down here. So the number of planets they can attack without much warning is definitely lower. So that's helpful. But it's time to see just exactly what's going on with these Dargslin. You know, are they all bark and no bite, or do they have some ships? It would appear that they have some ships. Yes, indeed they do. So here's what we're looking at. 98 enemy units, almost 15,000 enemy firepower. Those of you scoring at home, that's much higher than I've put in a fleet yet. And they have 5 different groups of 14 fighters each. They have 3 flagships and essentially a full complement of cruisers. Or destroyers, rather. Now, these all say Destroyer 1 and Flagship 1, so this isn't a particularly advanced fleet. At least, comparatively. You know, they could be higher levels of flagships and destroyers. But, it's kind of scary. We're going to run away now. Thank you very much. It's nice of you to visit. Now, please go away. Didn't have any missiles. That was interesting. Because, you know, I would have expected them to be throwing missiles at us.
Congratulations on your new appointment, Grand Admiral. A new, very powerful race of aliens has been discovered. This Dargslin race is proving to be a real threat to our security.
We don't think our empire will be able to prevail against the new enemy without the cooperation of the other alien races. We are creating a Diplomacy Annex on the Thorin.
We didn't get everything we would have liked to done at Admiral rank in the just under a month we were there, but moving on regardless, late November we are up to Grand Admiral, and of course still on the Thorin because the best ship the human empire has, no way to go up from there. We just get the Diplomacy Annex, which diplomacy is very much tacked on in my opinion, both from a gameplay and story point of view. If we think back a bit to things that have happened earlier in the game, you know, we had the Garthog conflict. 30 years, we hardly knew anything about them. No mention of diplomacy there, but if we didn't understand them at all, well, that kind of makes sense. Nothing from Dr. Reinhardt talking about, you know, the expansionary race coming into the galaxy. No idea of, you know, pacifying them or reaching an agreement. None of that comes into play. Most of the races of the galaxy attacking us at Admiral rank. No mention of diplomacy there. So there's a couple choices here, I think, and neither one of them are pleasant. One is that the Human Empire, this is another thing that they're just so incompetent at that they tried and couldn't accomplish anything. And so now they're handing it off to Dante. The other aspect, which could be even worse, is that they didn't even think about it prior to this. Like, they're so myopic that what they did was, oh boy, the Darksland, oh, they're here. Oh, I guess we better do something about that. But, you know, I mean, I don't think that really fits, because they did at least think long-term enough to have secret research projects building the android Dante. So, I'm guessing, I'm going with the incompetence angle, but either way, it's not pleasant. So we're going to journey through the Thorin and take a look at some new developments. There aren't a lot of them. But back here again in our room, let's take a look at the alien descriptions, because there are a couple new things here. One is, obviously, the Dargsland themselves. We can also go to the Diplomacy Annex straight away, over here. But very little is known about the Dargsland, who look kind of freaky, by the way. Intelligence reports that we know by now we should not believe for a second show they have extremely powerful ground attack forces as well as a competent space fleet, so apparently their ground troops are the greater danger. At least that's what we're being told here. And the only other difference is on the orbs, where it says they've known of the Dargsland for a long time, since the Dargsland's occupied orb territory. Since then they have hated the Dargsland race. So we have probably a pretty good place to start then in getting the other races on our side against the Dargsland. The orbs are a natural enemy of them, which also makes sense geographically. We'll get to that when we go back to the star map. Alright, let's take a look at the bar. And it's the same, and nobody's here. Okay. Head back out to the corridor. And then the Diplomacy Annex is straight across from our room. So hey, at least it's convenient. We don't have to walk across half the ship to get there. This, of course, is the door that we've seen before. It's on the ship map now, which would reach Grand Admiral rank. And it's a room with a chair and these circular things on the floor, which I assume are holographic projectors of some kind. Okay, we're going to connect. Now, the whole idea in the cutscene where you need to, you know, gather with the other races, you need their help to defeat the Dargsland, even if you're playing this conventionally, you've still got to get powerful enough to beat them back on your own. The other races aren't going to be strong enough to do that. The only real benefit it could even ever have is to distract the Dargsland. You know, in other words, make them attack multiple enemies instead of just focusing all their attacks on us, which would allow you to get to that advanced technological point where you could attack them. But it's really oversold, the idea of needing their help, because it's not like this is a grand unified alliance, you know, sort of type of thing where we have to take them down by the group, because no one of us individually is going to be able to do it. That's not really the situation. So yellow options are ones that you can't use. Obviously, we can't unite forces against the Dargsland when we're talking to the Dargsland. Can't ally with them at all. Now, we can offer them these various ideas. You know, diplomatic relations, credits, etc., trade. And these are all ways of making them like us better. So if we go that direction, we're going to contribute them to show our worth, and we don't care at all for your money. The Dargsland are not interested in negotiation. Great. And that failed, dropped us down. Now, if we look at the relationship table, these, by the way, are all 0 to 100 scale in terms of just the relations between each race. I think this is interesting. They show us the detail here. Now, we saw that the Orbs don't like the Dargsland, and if you sort of follow them over, well, it shows their relations aren't actually that low with them, but they really don't like the Sullups, which is interesting. You see some of the racial interrelations. The Sullups, however, have decent relations with the Darklands. They're the only ones that aren't predisposed to hate the extragalactic invaders, which is interesting. And you can see our relations, like it's mixed, most of the rest of them, but not here. Like, most of the Empire doesn't like us. So you have to ask yourself, is the Darkland really the evil Empire? Because it could be us. Like, it's neck and neck here who actually you should dislike more. The galaxy basically is probably between a rock and a hard place here. Like, who are we going to follow? They both suck. In any case, I'm going to start with the races that like us. So the free traders are the ones that like us the most. I don't want to spend the money to just throw money at them. Forging alliances against the other races is a waste of time. So we're just going to try to butter them up and get them to unite against the Darkland. That's the whole point of this. And it's very basic because we're going to try and improve trade relations, but that actually doesn't improve trade relations at all. In other words, it improves relations, but doesn't improve trade. You're not going to get any more trade income by doing this. I do like the fact there's different flavor text with each of the different factions. They will accept our trade agreement. I'm going to go with neutral on the diplomatic approaches just because I think that's what an android would do. Your request is being processed by the appropriate operations supervisor. In other words, they're stalling us. And we can't renegotiate those. Let's see if they will unite forces. They threaten the social and economic fabric of our civilization. The executive group has authorized full support. Okay. Excellent. Now, this will tick off the Darkland, of course. We're going to see their relations go down to, oh, nothing, how lovely. But we're on great terms now with the free traders. And so we are going to take the time to try to get as many of them on our side as we can, even though, like, from a practical point of view, it just doesn't matter that much. So we'll try trade. Trade and commerce can only strengthen the Confederacy. And it is sort of random a bit, because this is the Morgath who are the other ones that kind of like us. And I've had games where they will be hostile to you at Admiral rank. So there is a bit of that. And it also depends, of course, how aggressively you expand towards their territory. You can benefit from friendlier ties. Excellent. Your empire is strong. The Morgath are strong. Together we will take down this predator. So that's 2 for 2. And of course, they turn yellow. It means we can't talk to them again for a while. Alright. What about the Orbs? We know they hate the Darkland, so regardless of what they think about us, they're probably going to, you know, want to engage that way. So let's just start with that offer here. Excellent. Now, the idea is, we know that's going to make them happy, so that could butter them up. Oh, well, they don't want trade. Fine. We got 1 no and 1 stall there. But relations with them are up to the positive side. So we could perhaps strengthen them even more. Although, again, that would not accomplish much. Now, the Sullips like the Darklands more than they like us. So that's not particularly great. They stall us on diplomacy. On trade. Not a benefit to the Sulp clan hold. Well, you must prove your prowess as a warrior. That's, you know, I mean, frankly, we couldn't have expected much better. And we got no movement at all in their relations. They may simply be stuck there. The Ecoleps, the last 3 just really hate us. But, you know. Let's deregulate trade. They had to think about it for a while, but they said yes. So that's a positive. Examine your proposal when it reconvenes after the harvest time recess. Again, some of the individual responses here provide a bit of entertainment. There we go. And again, they're saying, look, you got to prove yourself first. What, you disbanded your whole military and we don't trust you? Imagine that. But we did boost their relations some. They still don't like us, but, You know, they're a little more open than they were before. Okay, and then the Free Nations Society. Surprised they would even consider it, as much as they don't like us. They will agree to trade. Well, that's actually better than I expected. We must work together to destroy them before they destroy us. And we have yet to demonstrate an ability. So, the Administrative Council will not throw away our soldiers' lives without hope of victory. Again, they're just like, look, this is a problem, but we're not throwing ourselves into this. We're going to be cautious. So, one left. We did boost them some as well. The Achaean futures market has surged in response to your offer. They're always going to like their money. So it's a good thing to lead with here. We're currently a Class J3 trading entity until your oppressive securities and bonds laws are stopped. What does that even mean? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just flavor text, but we have no laws to adjust. It would be dangerous in the extreme to move against the Dargslen at this point. Okay. More expensive matters are at hand there, that last line. I love it. Okay, and still improve their relations some. So, if we look at our relationship table now, you know, look at the overall picture, we're probably hated less than the Dargslen. But not less than anybody else. And, you know, the Dargslen only now on decent terms with the Sullups. So if we could break that up, that would be nice. But again, this just doesn't really matter overall. Now, back to our galactic picture. And this is why I don't spend a lot of time zoomed in, because it's just a mess. But we can also see that, you know, most of the empty territory left is on this side. And the Oryx, they didn't actually attack us at Admiral rank, but they're up here. And so you can see if the Dargslen are up this way and the Oryx are up this way, you can see why there would be border conflict between them and why they might be one of the first races to get upset. So we need 3 more planets, and we're on their way to the one Earth-like planet out here. And once we get those 3 more, we will have enough. Of course, I want to keep going. We want to get as many planets as we possibly can, just to have the best economic base, and also, just as importantly, to prevent the Dargslen from expanding more, to the extent that we can do that. And then once we've expanded to the full extent we're able, then we will start hammering in more on building up the infrastructure to have a proper endgame armada. One final bit by way of introduction to Grand Admiral rank, there is going to be some new technologies we're going to want, and also a bunch that we don't want, such as these fighters. But there are some high-end toys that are added that you can't get until you reach Grand Admiral. In the pipeline eventually will be, you know, we don't have the Cruiser 2 yet, but the Cruiser 3, the Kahudri class cruiser, one of the most important ones that we get. This is the ultimate in terms of, you know, ship of the line capability. It's going to be the workhorse of our fleet eventually. Flagships, same type of deal. We have the Python that we haven't gotten yet, the Tier 2, and the Tier 3, the Kraken, is coming down the line. And people have asked some about the Leviathan. That was originally able to be built. But during development, they decided, you know what, it's just too overpowered to let the player have a bunch of Leviathans floating around. They wanted to keep it unique. So, as it turns out, we'll only be able to get the Kraken. But it's still a decent consolation prize, as we'll see when we get there. Okay, so we do have another shield. The Super Heavy Shield is going to be coming. There's a faster hyperdrive that wasn't available before. We're working on Mark IV, but 5.0 here is available eventually. On the weapons side, we've got the Behemoth tank, a step up from the Heavy. And we've also got the Meson gun eventually. And then there are also items like, you know, for example, you know, if we go down, they're going to have additional guns here on the planet, the Meson projector. We're not worrying about any of those, but they are there. No more in the economic buildings category. We've maxed all that out. So that's where things sit for us as we enter Grand Admiral rank. And next episode, we will begin to continue the expansion grind on into the future and prepare for that final battle with the Dargslin. It's coming soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.